All right, everyone, we'll do a quick live. I am driving back right now, heading to Jacksonville. Just to give everybody a quick update and get kind of a breakdown if they haven't already seen my videos. I got a bunch of videos posted. I got more coming of big bass explosions and some of the great catches I had for the weekend. So definitely subscribe, follow, and check out my other content. Also, I have other social media. I have TikToks, which are a bunch of how-to videos and quick videos, kind of like shorts. So if you don't have a TikTok account, create one and definitely follow me on that one. So now we got that out of the way, let's talk about how I broke down the lake. So pretty much I got down there Monday. I fished it for a whole week. So I break whenever I fish Okeechobee, I break it down in sections. A lot of people get overwhelmed when they go to Harris Chain or go to Okeechobee because it's just so much to cover, so much to do. I've been burned in the past by just going all in on one spot. And then what happens is, like it did today, the wind changes or the weather changes or that spot gets blown out, which I'll go over here in a little bit, talk about here in a little bit. But what I did was on Monday, I started at the north end. So I went up there, went into one spot, and I had 25 pounds with 5 fish, and I wasn't even in there probably 30 minutes. And I said, okay, I am out of here. This is going to be my number one spot. And that was the spot I fished these 2 days. So I found that spot right away, and that was like really one of the first spots I went to. This was also a spot that I had fished previous tournaments this year, done really well there. So definitely a good area. Water was crystal clear. It was a brim bed bite, a lot of brim beds, so brim everywhere. And then what's cool about the north end around the boat, definitely want to make sure that you have a good pair of glasses. The ones I have are the Costas. So I have the Costas. These are the 520s. These are 520s. And then I use the this is the lens I have. This is one I recommend for any kind of bed fishing, any kind of pretty much any kind of freshwater. This is the lens here. I think it's called green bronze. But check this out on their on the website. But this is what I use. Also, I highly recommend putting on a floatable lanyard on the back of them. This right here will save you a lot of money. I use the Chums. There's a lot of other brands out there. Just make sure it's floatable. And also, I got the neon color so I can see it. God forbid they do fly off my head. I want to be able to find my expensive glasses. These run about $250 a pair, so I don't want these floating in the bottom of the lake. So this is my setup. This is what I use for glasses, and this is how I was able to see those fish far away. My co-anglers did not have glasses on, and I was like, bro, there's brim beds right in front of us. They couldn't even see the brim that were, not even 10 feet in front of us. So make sure you get yourself a good pair of glasses. Yeah, they're expensive, but it's you get what you pay for, and it makes a big difference, especially the kind of fishing I was doing, which was almost like sightseeing. So after I found those 5 fish, I kind of expanded upon that pattern. And then all I was doing, I wasn't even fishing. I was going through, I see a bass, I mark it. I see a bass, I mark it. I find a brim bed, I mark it. The water was about 1 foot to 1.5 feet. Very skinny water. Another thing that was working for me was the eelgrass. There was a lot of eelgrass in these areas, and the brim were bedding down in the eelgrass, and there was these little circle holes that bedded down there. Motorcycle just flew by here. 2 motorcycles flew by. But there is the brim beds. The bass were actually sitting in those. I saw them sitting down in there, and that was what was effective yesterday. Was working that frog over top of those beds and pausing. As soon as I pause, they come out of the water and blow up on it. That's how I was catching the majority of my fish yesterday. So I marked a lot of spots on the north end. I ran back into the monkey box, and I wanted to scan all that water. That was also shallow. There was some spots, especially in the main canal. Be careful if you are running that canal going out to the rim ditch. It was like 6 inches right there, and right by the pole that cuts through. Very, very shallow. So definitely be careful if you're running through there. Caught a couple fish in there. I didn't really like the size. I was only catching 2-pounders. I wasn't catching the big 5-pounders and near 6 pounds that I was catching up in the other spot. But I still marked those locations, and I ended up going to those couple of those spots today, and I caught one 2.5 pounder. But I didn't catch any big good size there in the monkey box. I was fishing the mouth of the monkey box, and I was in the back of the monkey box. Okay, so I left there, and then one of the things I did is I stayed on the north end. So I usually stay in the hotel on the part of the lake that I'm going to be fishing. So I camped out. So I don't know if y'all saw my live. I was camping. I stayed at the KOA campground up there, popped a tent, and I had a real good time. I mean, it was only $25 to stay a night. So I definitely saved money on the hotel room there, because hotel rooms are pretty expensive now. So I went the second day, so Tuesday, I decided to also run the north end. And what I wanted to see was, I had heard there was a possible shad bite, shad spawn bite early in the morning. Now, I was on a really good, that was all I fished. The last super tournament that we had last year, this time last year, that's all I had. I had a shad spawn, and it lasted all day for some reason. The shad were outside on the outside reed line, blowing up. I catch them out there on the chatter bait, any kind of moving bait, flukes, jigs, whatever I threw out there, I was smashing them. Then as they moved into the wind kind of blew them into the hay grass, and there was some pencil reeds there. There was quite a bit of grass. Once they were pushed up in there, you can kill them with a frog. The last super tournament, it was cloudy. We actually had a hurricane coming through, or I guess it was a tropical storm. They delayed the first day, so the weather was actually perfect for me. I love the frog. There's a frog bite, I'm gonna do really well. I consider myself a really good frog fisherman, and that's why I was able to capitalize on that bite yesterday, which I'll get to here in a second. So that's how I broke down Monday, Tuesday, and then Wednesday I drove all the way down, which is another hour south, to the south side. So I figured the last 3 days of practice I would use on the south side, because in the event that I did go north, that I wanted to have something on the south to run to. So you don't want to get stuck on the north end in inclement weather and not make it down to the south. So that's what I did. I fished the south end, and I wasn't really impressed with the bite. I found some rim ditch fish. The rim ditch, the deeper holes, I was able to catch get a few bites in there. I tried the dynamite holes. I didn't catch anything in there. I ran up into near Kramer Island. I fished all up in there. I caught a couple. It was like a little small schoolies. I went around Kramer into Pelican Bay. Pelican Bay was chocolate milk. I didn't like the color. I really look for moving water, clear water, whenever I'm fishing Okeechobee. So I was focusing more on that crystal clear water I found up north. That was all the better. But I didn't even catch a single fish. I fished maybe 2.5, 3 hours in Pelican Bay, and didn't have a bite. I didn't see minnows. I didn't see any fish busting. No birds diving. It was just dead. Boats everywhere. There was probably 35, 40 boats stacked up in there. That also didn't look good to me. When I fished up north, I didn't have any boats around me, so I kind of headed to myself. So that's what determined my decision. So Thursday, I went out with a buddy. He wanted me to show him how to safely navigate around the lake. He was worried he was going to rip his lower unit off. I don't blame him. The lake is low right now. I think it's 12.9, which is actually up from the last weekend I fished down here. But that's what we did. I ran him around and showed him a couple spots. He wanted to see the south end, so I ran him through Boy Scout Cut so he could safely navigate that up by Kramer Island. And then we went to the Buzzard area, which I think is called Fairfield Island or Fairfax Island. There's an island over there. We went over there by that island. He wanted to see that area. It looked good, but we got no bites. And then he wanted to run over to Pelican Bay. So we ran that. We launched from Slim's. That's another great boat ramp to launch from. And then, again, we're all about saving gas because gas is so expensive. So, yeah, we made the run from Slim's, which wasn't too bad. I showed them how to navigate through there. Um, we only caught one fish. It was that tough on Thursday. And then Friday, I went and scanned water. So what I did was I was looking for brim beds, and if you haven't seen my video, I don't know if I posted that yet. I'll go post that video. I've got one on how to find brim beds using side scan. That's what I did. I ran and I found brim beds. I marked them. These are deep water brim beds, and I made sure that the brim were on them. It turns out I caught the brim on that one, and it was I don't even know what they call them now. I'll post a picture of it. I guess they're invasive there, and they have like stripes on their back. They look like a shell cracker. They're huge. It actually hit a spinner bait. It was throwing a spinner bait and crushed that. So that was sicklings. I think they call them sicklings or something like that. But anyway, I caught one of those. Choked it down. Hit a full size spinner bait. So that was not a brim bed. So woke up the next morning, and everyone was kind of freaking out because the wind was so bad. It was tournament morning. I'm sitting there with all my buddies. We got our 5 boats lined up, and they're like, "Bro, I don't know about this wind." It was 10. Well, it was 10 to 12. They said it was a gentle wind, but I mean, you could see the trees moving. It was pretty rough. Here, I'm gonna turn this light on so you see. Is that better? The wind was pretty rough. So a lot of people didn't want to run north. Also, there was 2 tournaments being fished from the north end. They were launching from Scott Driver. Pretty much all my friends have fished up north. So they're like, we're staying south. We're not going to run up north. I don't want to get beat to death across the lake, and it's going to be so many boats up north because of the 2 tournaments. Well, I just didn't have. I had a couple of fish down south. I didn't have anything where I felt like I was going to win the tournament. I didn't think I could win the tournament down south. I was going for that clear water up north near the brim beds. So they did. They stayed down south. One of them zeroed out. I don't even know what the other one caught. I think he caught one. Or maybe he didn't catch any either. Maybe they both zeroed out. But I made the run. It beat us to death until I got to Cochran's Pass. Once I got to Cochran's and I started heading north, and I cut into the waves, and I was able to get up on plane. So I was doing about 45 miles per hour. There's 2-foot rollers. It beat us pretty good. That skier is awesome. That 21-foot skier, it cuts through the waves really well. But we got to see, what was that cut? Was it Whitting's or Whistler cut or Pass? Whistler's Pass, right near Bird Island. I made that cut north. As soon as I cut north, I was able to get up on plane, and I was doing 65. I got up on plane, and it was still bumpy, but I was cutting through the waves. And if you ever ridden a skeeter, you'll know about the way the bow is designed. It's made to cut through the waves. It's also a heavier boat, and I put a lot of weight in the front. I had all my tackle boxes. I had 30 rods on deck, or not on deck, but on the boat. So I had a lot of weight in the front, so it allowed me to cut through those waves a lot better. So yeah, we got about 65 miles per hour, cut through all the waves, got there onto our spot, and I was suspecting, I was boat number 57, so I was expecting there to be 57 boats on my spot, especially from our tournament, and you had all those other 2 tournaments up there. There was no one there. I showed up, and I was all by myself. I couldn't believe it. So I was real quiet, snuck up in there. I could see the brim running everywhere. The bass were there, and it was lights out. I was on a flipping bite too on that Monday, but I went to that spot and it was frog. It was all frog. I tried flipping. I think I ended up catching a couple flipping, but my bites came from frog. So I was using frog all day long. I mean, it was all the way to 1 o'clock. I was catching them on frog. So let's talk about the conditions and why I was able to catch them on frog. That wasn't the way I was going in there to catch them. I was going in there to flip and catch them. I caught the big ones punching and flipping, and the reason that was is because it was hot on Monday, and whenever it's hot on Okeechobee, those fish are going to tuck up under any kind of vegetation, mats. They're going to get up into the reeds, and that was the opposite of what happened yesterday. Yesterday, there was cloud cover. It was looking like it was going to rain any minute. There was winds. We were getting, I think it was closer to 15 knot wind. So the water was literally moving. That allowed me to get up on the trolling motor a little bit. I didn't have to be so incognito moving around. And I was able to throw the ounce and a half weight. A lot of the fish that I did catch flipping, it was punching through mats with an ounce and a half. But the fish were out suspended. They were roaming around in the eelgrass. There was eelgrass, not necessarily choked out. There was the fish were sitting down in the lanes where people had ran through and cut up the grass. So what we were doing is we were throwing the frog, twitch, 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 and then pause either over a brim bed. So if I saw like a hole in that eelgrass, I'd pause over top of it. Or I'd throw it purposely down the lanes where the boats had ran through and chewed up the eelgrass, and that's where the big bass were. You just twitch, 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 and stop. Twitch, 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 and you'll see them. They were coming like 5 feet away. The water was so clear, and they were out roaming. They were looking to munch on something, and they were exploding. That 5-pounder I caught on the frog, I mean, he almost came completely out of the water. Luckily, I frog fished before. Most people were probably freaked out when it yanked it right out of his mouth. I actually let it land on the water and wanted to see my line swim away. I knew I needed that fish. That fish was going to count. So thank goodness I played that one right. And good job with my co-angler netting that fish, get that fish in the boat, which allowed me to move to the next day. I ended up catching, I don't even know how many fish I caught, probably close to 40 fish. Caught a lot of fish. And then we went to one other place up by, I guess it's up by Kings Bar, or it's down south of Kings Bar. It's in by Indian Prairie. I think it's where that's at. So then I decided, hey, I looked down at the weather. The weather was like 22 mile per hour, 22 knots. And it was going to be gusting. So what I didn't want to do was get stuck at the north end of the lake. And another thing I hadn't done yet was taking the trail through Horny Pond, going in the back, I guess, across Fish-Eaten Bay into the rim ditch. I've never made that run before. I knew I didn't want to make the monkey box run. I've done that one before because the water levels was so low. So I saw a boat that was going by. So I decided to go ahead and jump behind them and make that run with them. So that's where I messed up. If I could do it all over again, I would stay another hour up there. My plan was to come back and fish a couple spots in the rim ditch. The problem was I made the run, got through. I gave myself 2.5 hours. I had to be back at 3:30. I left at 1 o'clock. I gave myself 2.5 hours to get back just in case something happens. You never know what can happen. It actually turned out to be a really quick trip. I got in the rim ditch, and there must have been 60 boats from the field were fishing the rim ditch. I don't know if it was because of the weather. They didn't want to get out there and nobody wanted to mess the boats up. I don't know if they didn't want to make a long run. I'm not sure what happened, but 60 boats, 60 plus of the 130 were in the rim ditch, which kind of hurt me because I caught fish in the rim ditch, and I had these certain deep holes that I was going to go to and concentrate on. Well, I guess everyone else found the same fish in the rim canals. I caught a couple of 4s, a couple of 3s in those deep holes. So I didn't really get to fish it. I was kind of working with other boats. I was fishing already fished water, and I was not able to pull up. So I already had 13 pounds in the boat when I left the north end, and that's what I ended up weighing in with. If you didn't watch my live video, I didn't think I had a chance at all of moving on to a championship Sunday, especially with 13 pounds. I mean, I've had 19 pounds on Okeechobee, and I was in like 14th, 15th place. So I thought there was no chance at all that 13 pounds would make it. But sure enough, my co-angler called me and he said, "Hey, I'm your co-angler for tomorrow." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" He said, "Yeah, I'm fishing with you tomorrow." And I thought he was joking, but he was serious. And then I called the tournament director and said, "Hey, am I fishing tomorrow?" He said, "Yeah, you're on there. Where you at?" So I ended up going to the meeting, and I fished the second day with only 13 pounds, which is that's crazy. That is a really small weight for Okeechobee. It was that tough. And luckily, I figured out that frog bite. And I'm so glad I went north. Like I said, I believe there was 45 boats that didn't even weigh in a fish. Didn't catch a fish. So that's how that first day went. So I'd already knew I'd make it, cash a check. I knew it was in the money. I just went and had fun and fished the second day. I went and ate dinner with some of my buddies. They grilled some hamburgers. We relaxed. I didn't even tie up yet. I just went straight to dinner, came back, and then I tied. I really didn't. I was just retie. I didn't really change any of my baits. I kept everything exactly the same. There was no need to really change anything. Went and gassed up my boat. By the way, it's very expensive right now for fuel. And then I went to bed. Woke up early, and I had checked the weather the night before, and the weather was supposed to be 85, 86, almost the same conditions the day before. Less wind. It's supposed to be 6 to 7 mile per hour wind instead of the 10 to 15. So I knew I have a little less wind. My bite was kind of dependent on the wind, but I knew where the fish were. I knew I needed to go north. Also knew that I believe it was Tuesday on pre-fishing, it was bluebird skies and not that much wind. So I knew I just needed to duplicate the bite that I had for Tuesday. That's why it's important to pre-fish. Every day is different on Okeechobee. Every day the fish are doing something different. You definitely need to get out there and pre-fish if you want to win a tournament. So went out there and I went to the same spot. Went in there and it was dead. I didn't see any brim. The brim I seen the day before, it was like ghost town. There was no wind. There was no bluebird sky, and there was no bait. There was no anything. It was just dead. So I flipped around. I threw the frog till my arm fell off, and I was like, man. I was talking to co-anglers. Like, we got to make a change. They're not here. So what we did is we decided to go back towards the main lake a little bit and go into the grass lines. And once we made that transition, and again, if you haven't seen the videos on the fishing triangle, definitely watch those. I believe Kevin Van Dam does a really good one. I know a couple other pros out there do a video on the fishing triangle. That's very effective whenever you're pretty much talking about the fish don't travel too far. Fish have tails. They do swim away. They do swim different areas, but most of the time they don't go far. So and that's exactly what happened here. What it was because there was no wind pushing them from the main lake. Because it was pretty much white capping yesterday. Today was not white capping. It was nice and calm. They were able to go out until around the next line of weeds back towards the main lake, and sure enough, boom, had a bite. Boom, had a bite. Started smashing them. The problem was the sun was coming up. This was I got in my spot about 7:45, and all of a sudden the sun's coming up. So about 8:15. It's pretty bright and it's warm. That's another problem. So it's supposed to be 86 degrees a day. Cool the day before, and now it was near 100 degrees. I believe the heat index got to 104 today. I looked down on my boat a couple of times. It has the air temperature on there. It's 100 degrees. So really, really hot. No wind. Bluebird skies. Almost the worst conditions you could possibly have in Okeechobee. And because those conditions were what it was, I knew I needed to go punching, flipping. Those fish were not going to be out roaming around. They're going to be hiding. There's no ripples on the water. It's nice and still. They're sitting ducks or any kind of bird or any kind of predator that wants to get those fish. So made that decision to go start flipping and went to my spots that I had in the near the and Harney Pond, and I was able to pick up a couple fish there flipping, and then made the decision, last minute decision at 1 o'clock, I'm going to run back up north. I'm going to go back to my spot. That's what I was all in on. I know they're there. We got to get them to bite. And sure enough, I pulled up in there, and there was one sweet spot. There was a mat. It was almost like it was like clumped up dollarweed. It wasn't hyacinth. It was just a real thick mat. There's something about that mat. Underneath there was the brims were going back and forth. So there's brim all around there. But something about this, it takes 2 ounces to get through it. Couldn't get through it with any other weight. 1.5 wouldn't go through. But you just drop it through, and every time I dropped it through there, the smallest fish I caught under there was 3.5. Caught 5s under there pre-fishing. That was where I caught 2 5s under there Monday for that 25-pound bag I was telling you about. But sure enough, I flipped it under there, boom, tick, 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 and all of a sudden she just started swimming. I let up on her, and she started pulling, thrashing all over the place. And that was the big one I caught today. She was up under there. The one I caught yesterday, the big fish I had yesterday, was caught frog. Not even 10 feet from where I caught that fish underneath the mat. So definitely some big ones in there. Those fish were back in there. There were boats around me. Talking to one of the other buddies, and they were like, yeah, the number one guy was like right by you. I was like, no way. So I was on the fish. I knew they were there. I could have done something a little different today to maybe catch them. I think it was just maybe I used a Cinco. I was using a creature bait, crawfish style. Maybe I should have changed up my bait and gone something a little different. Something maybe a little more finesse. Because sometimes they get, especially when it's hot, 100 degrees outside, they get more lethargic and they get a little more slow. So maybe I was working a little too fast. But again, I had a blast today. I'm not upset at all. I feel like I did really good. I ended up finishing 14th. I had 11 pounds. I caught 8 fish. I had one hit the frog this morning. I kind of messed up. I would have had 2 extra pounds. It was probably 3.5 pounds. Blew up on the frog. Sounded like a 12-pounder when he hit this thing. And anybody that fishes knows that. The sound makes you think it's a 10-pounder, but then it's a 2.5-pounder. But anyway, the explosion hit, and I'm grinning ear to ear. I give it 2 seconds. I see the line move, and I yank it. And I yank it like it's a 12-pounder. I'm waiting for it to start fighting back with me. The problem was a 3.5-pounder, and the fish came completely out of the water, went over top of the boat, went back. Me and the co-angler looked back at it, and it was flying. It just kept flying. And probably went about 50 feet behind us. So I did not get that fish. That would have been a 3.5-pounder. That would have put me 2 pounds more. That would probably put me in 10th place. So that's kind of frustrating, but that's fishing. That's how it goes. I swung on that one a little too hard. I definitely use heavy rods whenever I'm flipping. I don't recommend going anything less. I definitely use a 65-pound braid. And I use I got the Strike King Hack Attack hooks on there, and they usually hold pretty good. But so let's see what else. So yeah, I finished 14th. I cashed a check, $629. So that's pretty awesome. It's always good when you get a little bit of money. There's been videos posted already. Again, not stealing their thunder. Talking about, how much it costs to fish, how much it costs to get in these tournaments. I do it for fun. I'm not doing this for money. I'm not doing this to, I know also all my sponsors, all you guys, all these people helping me out. There's no way I could do this without them. They are what makes this possible. So, and that goes with being, it's not necessarily to get friends from this fishing tournament. And I have trust issues with share their information with. But yeah, just be careful out there of what you tell, who you tell. The back and then rest of the hotel. So if you do the math on that, that was $25, so that's $50, and then $90 a night. That's already sucked up about one for the tournament. That's not including gas in the truck to get from Jacksonville, Florida to Okeechobee, which is a 5-hour drive. That took a tank and a half, so $75 tank, so 75 and a half, so 35. And then I first did that twice, so 75 times 3. So that's what you're looking to pay for just in your truck. Then you have your boat expenses. So I ran all the way north, and each time I ran was a half tank of gas. So that was 2 days of gas just in the tournament. Well, it's a 60-gallon tank, so 30 gallons times $5. So you're looking at $150. somehow it ended up $175 to fill up the tank. Or sorry, to put a half tank in there. I did a video on it, a YouTube video. Go check that out. But I wasn't even using the non-ethanol, which was even more expensive because they didn't have any there available in the south end. But yeah, it is very expensive. So I probably spent close to $1,500, and not right at $2,000 because I got $300 entry fee. So what I'm doing, I'm telling y'all, if you're gonna be doing this, don't do this to make money. Just like any sport, you gotta kind of start at the bottom and work your way up. But I do this because I enjoy it. I do this because I like helping everyone learn about the sport. This is something I enjoy doing my whole life. My dad taught me when I was a little boy. I got a picture of me at 3 years old holding a fishing pole. I mean, that's how young I started. I've always enjoyed it. I'm going to definitely get my 2 little girls involved in fishing. So if you do have any kids, get them involved. But yeah, do it because you love it. I think too many anglers get wrapped up in the money part of it, and next thing you know, they're not having fun anymore. They're getting burned out. They're getting frustrated. They're not cashing a check, and that's not good. That's toxic to your fishing. You have to have a clear head. This is definitely a mental sport. Like today, I was making all those decisions on, hey, should I leave my spot? When should I leave the spot? Oh man, the wind just changed. I need to go over here. When you make those changes, you have to have a clear mind. You don't need to be thinking about, personal life stuff. You got to have a clear mind when you're out there fishing. Definitely need to eat, take care of yourself, get good sleep. A lot of anglers they're sleep deprived. They stay up late at night doing all their rods and reels to 12 o'clock. They go to bed and they wake back up at 4 o'clock, or they can't sleep. That's another thing. A lot of anglers, they chug down 4 sodas and then try to go to bed. So, you got to get some sleep. You got to take care of your body. You got to be able to be mentally prepared to go fish these tournaments. So hopefully that helps you out a little bit. But yeah, also I found out, which I wasn't even expecting, I finished 10th overall in the rankings for the MLF. So now I'm in 10th place. And that was the last tournament. So I was in the top 10 for the MLF. So that was pretty cool. My first top 10 overall. I've had a lot of top 10s in tournaments, but I've never had top 10 overall in rankings and points. So that qualifies me for the regionals. Top 25 go fish the regionals, which will be Lake Merritt. I'll be watching YouTube videos for somebody like me, and hopefully somebody out there has some good ones. If you have any recommendations, send them to me. I'll pop me some videos. But yeah, I have no idea what the new season is online, so when I say new, your way up. All you have to do is you start at the BFLs. You can actually BASS. Just find out, go to the websites and find out which one's near your area. So if you're interested in the MLF, going up to the actual tour, all you have to do is enter these BFLs. You can even go as a co-angler. So let's say you don't have a bass boat. You want to start fishing. You want to see how it goes, kind of get your feet wet, and you'll learn from someone like me. What will happen is you'll pay your $100. I believe it's $100 now for co-anglers. They'll pair you up with a boater, and you'll show up the day of the tournament. You'll get a text saying who your boater will be. You talk to them. You show up that morning. You get in their boat and you go fishing. Drive around with them. You compete against the other co-anglers. You have a chance to win money. So it's pretty awesome. So let's see what kind of questions you'll have. If you have any questions or anything you want to know about the tournament life, sponsors. I'm going to do separate videos on the different baits and stuff I used and why I used the ones I used. I'll talk about the different types of hooks. I did one on the type of flipping hook I was using. So Get Hook Magic Baits has a different type of hook. They work really well. My hookup was actually really good today. So definitely check out those hooks. Check out that video. But all right, if nobody has any questions, that kind of wraps up what I was going to cover. And then, like I said, check out my other videos, my how-to videos. Also have a bunch of videos of like topwater blow-ups. I got some pretty awesome stuff on there, and then I got more to come. I got some good footage from this week. So thanks for following. Thanks for commenting down below. Thanks for all the likes, the hearts, and I'll see you in the next video.